Hey guys, Benjy here. Welcome back to my channel, Bite Size Benjy, where today I'm doing something a little bit different. So, from the title of the video, you're probably thinking Royal Mail video game stamp collection. What is that about? Well, I would like to show you. So, earlier this month, or in January, I think it was, the Royal Mail released some special edition stamps celebrating British video games, like video game developers. And I thought that looks cracking. I've got to get me some of those. And basically, I've got some limited edition stamps. Got 8 of them, and I thought I'd show this to you guys. Looks like this. So it's like that. So you've got Elite. So you can see. I'll do a little follow-up video in a second of showing it in a bit more detail. You've got Elite there, 1984. Sensible Soccer, 1992. Wipeout, 1995. Dizzy, 1987. You've got Worms there, 1995. Lemmings 1991, Micro Machines 1991, and Populous 1989. But I thought this is just a really cool thing to get. I mean, you also got a bonus Tomb Raider one as well. So as you can see there, you got Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider 2, Tomb Raider Chronicles, and then the rebooted Tomb Raider there in 2013. Like I say, I'll show you in a bit more detail in a second. But I thought I'd read this bit out. This little bit of blurb up here. It says, the roots of Britain's £4 billion video game industry can be traced back to the very early 1980s, when enterprising hobbyists, many of whom were school children at the time, first began to create games on the emerging home microcomputers of the era. From these humble beginnings, the industry has grown into an entertainment juggernaut, whose games are enjoyed by millions of players around the globe. Here, we take a look at some of the greatest games to ever come out of the UK, each a unique example of British software ingenuity at its finest. And yeah, I think it just looks absolutely fantastic. Like I say, it's got a little bit of bio there about each game. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show it into more detail right now. So here we are. We're going to take a closer look at each of the games. We're going to start off with Elite. So 1984, BBC Micro and Acorn Electron. Oh, I had both of those. Amazing games. Shout out to Repton. Probably one of my favourite games back then. Chucky Egg, awesome. Joystick or Keys. So Elite, originally created in 1984 by David Brabham and Ian Bell for the BBC Micro and Acorn Electron home computers, but released on all of the popular platforms of the era shortly thereafter. Elite is a seminal 3D space trading combat simulator in which the player travels the galaxy in search of action, adventure and profit, starting out with a basic spaceship and a meagre 100 credit bank balance. The objective is to amass a financial fortune by engaging in activities such as asteroid mining and the trading of goods from star system to star system, or more risky pursuits such as piracy, bounty hunting and military missions. Success in any of these endeavours earns credits that the player can use to buy increasingly more powerful and sophisticated spaceships, enabling them to partake in even more perilous adventures, with the ultimate goal of reaching the game's topmost rank of Elite. Now, I never played Elite, but I heard about it, and it was always like, you know, top 10 games of the year or top 10 games all time. Elite was always there in the top. I was like I say, I had BBC Micro, Micro and Acorn Electron, but when I was very, very young, and I just liked to play like the platformer type games. But I always remember Elite just being so popular. And obviously you can get Elite now on, you know, Xbox One. I think it's Elite Dangerous, I think it's called now. But yeah, pretty cool game. And back in the time, you know, 1984, to be able to do all that stuff, fly around, you know, open world. Obviously, graphics very basic, but I think that's just a really, really cool thing. Anyway, next up we got Dizzy, 1987 from the ZX Spectrum, Joystick or Keys. The brainchild of a pair of very young coders, Andrew and Philip Oliver, better known to gaming fans as the Oliver Twins. Dizzy is a whimsical platform game starring a titular character, an anthropomorphic egg. The objective of this much-loved piece of British software is to guide Dizzy through the fairy tale land of Kathmandu and search for a variety of magical items which, when combined in a magic cauldron, can be used to defeat the evil wizard Zax. This might sound like a straightforward task, but Dizzy's mission is impeded by a variety of fiendishly tricky riddles and object-orientated puzzles that he has to solve, all while avoiding the dangerous that inhabit the game's many screens. Dizzy is a notoriously difficult game, but that didn't stop it from becoming popular with players when it was released by Codemasters in mid-1987 for the ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64 and Amstrad CPC home computers. Look at his little face. Yeah, Dizzy, again, another game I did play, but never completed. But yeah, I love this little bit of information here. Dizzy's large animated face gives him an expressive quality. Look at him. Look at that little smiley face. And then the game is rock hard and probably dies quite a lot, I reckon. But there's Dizzy there, Codemasters, the legendary Codemasters. Populous, 1989, Commodore Amiga. You can use the mouse on this. What would you do if you were a deity? This deity? Deity? I think I'm saying, don't know which one I'm saying right. That was the question posed by populist designer Peter Molyneux. We all know Molyneux now, don't we? Fable creator, so on and so forth. And his team of Bullfrog Productions when they created the first ever God game in 1989. Players of this highly original piece of software assume the mantle of a divine being charged with overseeing the health and well-being of their followers. To this end, the player uses their supreme powers to cultivate the land so that their followers can prosper, growing in strength and numbers to eventually overcome their enemy. Another group of followers who have their own god looking out for them. The player is able to unleash earthquakes, swamps and floods and on the enemy to set back their development, but the opposing god can do likewise, resulting in an apocalyptic battle where there can only be one victor. Never familiar with the Populous series. Again, very popular game. But yeah, like I say, very first God game. So, you know, all those games like SimCity and Roller Coaster Tycoon and, you know, all those other games owe a lot to this. So obviously all the other God games out there owe a lot to this, being the first God game. And yeah, probably a fantastic game. Again, I didn't play much of it, to be honest. But yeah, a very popular one. It is. Right, next up we got Lemmings. So I think we all know Lemmings. Oh no! 1991, Commodore Amiga. Obviously we know it went on to everything else. And literally everything. Mobile, home consoles, the whole lot. The product of the Commodore Amiga Deluxe paint animation experiment, Lemmings was created by DMA Designs, Mike Daly and David Jones. So DMA are now Rockstar. And we all know what Rockstar make now. Yeah, I know. Look how far it's come and how different that company is now. The action puzzle game, which plays out over a number of increasingly difficult screens, requires a player to safely guide a group of lemmings to the clearly marked exit. Sounds simple? It's anything but. Each lemming continually walks in the direction it is facing, meaning that it will unwittingly stroll into any hazard in its path, of which there are many, from precipitous, I'm going to move on, drops to pits of fire. To prevent that from happening, the player assigns different skills to lemmings, such as the blocker that will make other lemmings turn around, climbers that will create steps over hazards, or diggers that can burrow through the landscape. All must be used together to create a safe route for the lemmings to reach the exit, in order to move on to the next more challenging level. I loved Lemmings as a kid. I have to admit, I was kind of sadistic in that I used to try and just get as many as I can all together and just blow a hole. A massive hole in the level with them. Oh no! And watching the frame rate drop massively when they all explode. But yeah, I love Lemmings. 1991 though, wow, that's so far. I'll show the stamps off in a second, the actual stamps themselves. Just going to go through all of the games they've got here. So here we are, we've got Micro Machines, they're macro size. 1991, Sega Mega Drive. So I think they've highlighted the Mega Drive version because I believe, was it Micro Machines or Micro Machines 2, where they actually put controller ports on the cartridge so you could have more players. Because obviously the Mega Drive was limited to 2 ports, so to have 4-player, you could plug them in. I don't know if that was Micro Machines or Micro Machines 2. If I remember, I'll pop that on the screen. But yeah, Micro Machines, 1991, initially conceived in 1989 as an original racing title called California Buggy Boys. I didn't know that. Interesting. Codemasters subsequently struck a deal with US toy maker Galoob in 1990 to license its popular Micro Machines toy car line and turn the game into a fully endorsed product. The result was an absolutely terrific viewed from above racing game that met with a rapturous critical reception when it was released the following year. The game's objective is simple. Players take control of a miniature car and race against computer-controlled opponents to be first past the finishing post. The action is fast and furious, taking place on tracks in a variety of household settings, such as on the breakfast table, pool table, and in a treehouse. However, each course is packed with many humorous hazards, making the racing both challenging and fun. It was awesome. I used to play this around a friend's house all the time when it came out. Such a great game, so good. Lots of variation in tracks. It would be on like a snooker table, then in a kitchen table, then in the back garden. I think in like the later Micro Machines, they introduced like helicopters, and it was just a great game. And then I remember Micro Machines V3 for the PlayStation 1. That was awesome. Great game. And I know it made a comeback on, I think it was the 360 PS3 era. Didn't quite have the same feel, but yeah, great game anyway. Sensible Soccer, 1992, Commodore Amiga. Of course, this went on to other formats as well, other consoles. But yeah, 1992. Football video games have been consistently popular since the start of the computer age. Initially simple in nature, these games grew in graphical and gameplay complexity throughout the 1980s, until in 1992, Sensible Software, created that many believe was one of the finest digital iterations of the sport. Featuring a zoomed-out top-down view of the field, Sensible Soccer incorporates an initiative and highly responsive control scheme and delivered slick and smooth football action. The highlight of the game is the player's ability to bend and lift the ball after they kick it, resulting in spectacular banana shots and inch-perfect goal passes. With its fiercely competitive gameplay between two players, Sensible Soccer was an instant hit and continues to be seen as the classic arcade-style football game. I was more an international superstar soccer sort of person. I didn't really play football games a lot in the early 90s. I think I played like Football Italia on the Mega Drive, but I only really started playing football games massively, like the ISS series, International Superstar Soccer, that would revolve into Pro Evolution and so on and so forth. But I did play Sensible Soccer a bit anyway, and they're right about the curling shots. You could score some absolute blinders. It was great. But yeah, fantastic football game, and just check it out if you can, because I'm pretty sure, again, it's been re-released on everything. Wipeout, 1995 for the Sony PlayStation. God, this is making me feel old now. I remember seeing this Curry for the first time. I was amazed by the graphics, absolutely amazed. But anyway, take a trip to 2052 and compete in the F3600 Anti-Gravity League in this phenomenal racing game. Developed in Liverpool at Sony Signosis offices, Wipeout features a fleet of super-fast floating rocket-like craft that players use to race along tight twisting tracks that wend their way through a series of futuristic cityscapes. The action is highly competitive, even more so when you consider the participants can pick up a variety of weapons such as missiles, bombs and mines to use offensively against their fellow competitors. As well as featuring excellent racing action, Wipeout boasts one of the first fully licensed gaming soundtrack, headlined by leading electronic dance music artists of the mid-90s such as the Chemical Brothers, Orbital and Left Field. Oh my god, that soundtrack was amazing. Add to that notable visual touches created by famed graphics company The Designers Republic, and you have a game that looks, sounds and plays absolutely brilliantly. It still holds up, Wipeout. It really does, like the original. Might have to dig that out again on the old PlayStation. But yeah, Wipeout was... I just remember the music. It was so good. It just went with the game as well. It was just perfect. Wipeout 2097, I think I played a lot more than the original Wipeout, because it just had a load more to it. I think when I got my PlayStation, I think Wipeout 2097 had been released. So yeah, fantastic game. Again, quite a big game. I think they did re-release the PS3 ones on PS4, like with Wipeout Fury and stuff. It's like a collection, so you should definitely check that out. I think it's got VR support as well, so yeah, check that one out if you can. And lastly, we've got Worms, 1995. Grenade! Created by Andy Davidson, Worms started out as a homebrewed entry for magazine's programming contest. The game didn't win the competition, but was signed up by Team 17 a few months later after Davidson showed it up to representatives of the long-running British software publisher at the computer trade show. The game is very simple but highly addictive. It tasks the player to take control of a squad of armed worms and use them to eliminate an opposing group of worms situated on the other side of the screen. Each worm is equipped with over 20 different weapons and tools, all which have their own unique functionalities. It is up to the player to decide how best to use these items to destroy the opposing army of worms, which adds an element of puzzling to the artillery-orientated action. With its cartoon-like graphics and amusing sound effects, Worms is a highly original game that proved very popular during the mid-1990s. Yeah, Worms, I've always dipped into that every year to have a little go. Great multiplayer, some really cool single player as well. But obviously it's mainly played for its multiplayer and online. But a great game. The amount of games I lost where I had so many worms, like 4 worms against someone's 1, and then they would still win because, you know, all about the tactics, got to get them right. And the amount of times I've used the ninja rope and swung into the water by accident. But worms there, which is great. And let's have a little look at the actual stamps themselves now. So just over here on the back, you can see them here. Got, obviously you probably saw it when I introduced them in the video there. Some really cool looking stamps. I will not be using these. I'm actually tempted to get them frayed. But if you look behind the stamp, it's got some little bits that they used to say in the games there, like right on commando, goal, congratulations, congratulations Dizzy has rid Kathmandu of the evil wizard's axe. What's that one there? Well done, you have conquered evil, challenge champion. Let me guess, says oh no for Lemmings. Can't get it now. Yeah, oh no, and incoming. So yeah, cracking collection there, really cool. Also, as well as a bonus, you got Tomb Raider ones as well, which is pretty nice. So you got the Tomb Raider stamps there. Like I say, you can see it a lot better now. Tomb Raider 1996, Adventures of Lara Croft 1998, Tomb Raider Chronicles, and the Tomb Raider reboot. I think the Adventures of Lara Croft, I think that's Tomb Raider 3. Is it Tomb Raider 3 or is it Tomb Raider 2? 1998. I'm going to say Tomb Raider 3. I probably got that wrong. For some reason 2 sticks in my... Who knows? Anyway, turn it over and you've got some nice bit of concept art there. So you've got the original Lara Croft design. Well, not the original because, well, look, her boobs are rounded there. They're triangle, the original Lara Croft. One of my favourite series. Hard as anything, the original PlayStation ones, but let's read this quickly. So designed and created at Derby-based Core Design, the very first Tomb Raider game was released in 1996 on Sony PlayStation, Sega Saturn and PC. Starring archaeologist Lara Croft, the game took the form of a grand 3D adventure in which the Tomb Raider travels the world in search of the 3 parts of the Atlantean Scion? A powerful artifact used by a former ruler of Atlantis to create an army of mutant beings. Tomb Raider was a massive hit, selling over 7 million copies and kicking off a series of subsequent Lara Croft adventures that spanned 17 games and 3 big screen movies. The latest game in the series, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, was released in 2018 and sold over 4 million copies worldwide. And yeah, there's some it's just some information about the concept art there. But yeah, Tomb Raider, I loved the rebooted series quite recently. I think the original Tomb Raider reboot, the definitive edition, is probably my favourite of the reboots. I love Rise and Shadow as well, but I mean, that's just how you reboot a game. It was absolutely fantastic. But so yeah, and that's it. Like I said, I'll pop on the screen there because there are other ways you can get this collection. You can get like frames as well for it, so you can like hang them up. So I'll pop that on the screen as well. I'll pop in the description below where you can get them. They're probably only available for a limited time only, but they do other things like Star Wars and Harry Potter, but video games, of course, I'm going to take an interest in that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please give it a like, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe for some more lovely gaming content. But as always, I'm Bite Size Benji. Happy gaming.